My name is Karen Santana, and today I'm going to be giving you guys a persuasive speech about the second largest organized crime activity in the world. So, does anybody know the first organized crime in the world? Largest organized crime in the world? Well, it's drug trafficking. And the second is sex trafficking. So, sex trafficking, according to the U.S. law, it is a commercial sex act induced by force, fraud, or coercion. Basically meaning that if you were forced into it by someone either taking you away from your family, kidnapping you, if you were forced by being tricked into it, being offered a job as an escort service, and then all of a sudden it turns out to be that you're being sex trafficked, or by violence, being your family being threatened, or you being threatened physically or emotionally. So sex trafficking right now, it makes about $40 billion worldwide. It's one of the largest organized crime activity, and many few people are caught. Many of the people who take part in sex trafficking are not caught because it's so on the down low. Nobody really knows who's involved, how many people are actually involved, and so it's a very hard topic. So why is it important to raise awareness? Today I want to persuade you guys to join anti-sex trafficking movements in order to prevent sex trafficking, because sex trafficking can happen to anyone, anywhere. So one of my main points is why is it important to raise awareness? Because here in the United States, California holds 3 of the highest sex areas in the U.S. LA, San Diego, and San Francisco. These places are the highest area because they're next to borders, so people are easily trafficked from lower countries such as Mexico, third world countries. So kids and people are kidnapped in their countries and snuck over the border into these places. About 50,000 people are brought to the U.S. annually to be exploited. So people from all over the world are brought into the United States to be exploited, to be sex trafficked. And only 0.4% of victims are identified. So it's really hard to find the victims who are part of sex trafficking, because sometimes you can confuse them and think, oh, this person is a prostitute. But then when you go into the deep of what's going on, that person is actually being sex trafficked and they're being forced to sell their body for money. And like I said, only 0.4% of victims are identified, and that's less than 1%. Only 8.5 out of 100 offenders are convicted. So out of 100 people, only 8 get caught. So that leaves about 92 free that continue to exploit people. So those statistics are really, really bad. Most victims are aged 12 to 14 years old. So most of the victims who are sex trafficked are children. So that's why it's important to make sex trafficking a priority in the criminal justice system, because kids are the future, and if we have these kids being forced to be in sexual acts, then what does the future of this country look like? We have kids that are not going to school, they're not learning, they're not, having a regular childhood because they're being forced into sex trafficking. So why is it important to support? Like I said before, sex trafficking can happen anywhere to anyone. So here's the story of Teresa. Teresa was a girl whose story is very very special, because it truly exemplifies how sex trafficking can happen to anyone, anywhere. Teresa was sex trafficked. She had a crush on a boy in school, one of the popular boys, and so she met up with him in his house, and they engaged in, they messed around in their house, and he actually recorded what they did. And so while he recorded what they did, he used that tape, that evidence against her, and said that if you don't do what I say, then I'm going to show it to your parents. And Teresa was scared out of her mind. So she did what he asked. And basically what he did to her was he forced her to have sex with his friends. And she was, this kept happening for 2 years while she was in school, and nobody knew about it until her dad got another job and they moved out of that place. But it just shows how this can happen to anyone, in school, by a friend. Sex trafficking is serious. Even though she wasn't actually sent anywhere, she was being forced to be with different guys and being taken to these places. I want you to have sex with this guy. So that just shows how sex trafficking can happen to anyone, anywhere. And the second story I have for you is the story of Dai. Dai was a Asian woman who fell in love with a man, and so she moved in with him. And after they moved in together, he actually abused her. And when he abused her, she decided to run away. Having nowhere to go, she was in a new place, nowhere to go, no job, no family. A woman approached her and offered her a job at an escort service. So the woman promised her that it was just an escort service, there was not going to be anything else. And so Dai accepted because she didn't have anywhere else to go. And after that, she just became involved. She just became a victim of sex trafficking, and she was sex trafficked all over the United States. And you know, that was her story. She happened to get out of sex trafficking by one of the clients that she was with. He actually brought her out of the business she was in, and so that's how she got out and was able to tell her story. So, becoming involved, like I said before, what I want you guys, the reason why I'm giving this presentation is to motivate you guys to join anti-sex trafficking movements. So, one of the most important things that you can do is joining organizations such as Stop Sex Human Trafficking New York.com. It's simple. There they post up stories about latest sex trafficking, incidents and things that people are doing to try to stop sex trafficking. They put up petitions so people can sign. Sometimes becoming involved is as simple as just signing your name somewhere. Your signature can make such a difference, and dedicating those 3-5 seconds of your time can make a huge difference. You can also join protests, when they go to make protests to try to make this a priority in the criminal justice system. And also, another thing you can do is sign petition. Like I said, sign petitions is a very important one and a very simple way to get involved. And sign petitions such as the Proposition 35 for California. So like I told you guys in the beginning of my presentation, California has 3 of the highest areas in the United States of sex trafficking. So Proposition 35 for California is so important in order to make a change in these 3 areas. The Proposition 35 for California is what it basically wants. It wants to have higher sentences for criminals caught in sex trafficking. They want law enforcers to learn how to deal with sex trafficking cases, and they want people who are caught being part of sex trafficking, the offenders, to actually pay a fine, so the victims who are caught in sex trafficking can have more support services, can have places to go after they're caught, so the government can be able to give them back so they can recover and start their life over. So, and lastly, raise awareness of people around you. Many people don't know about sex trafficking. They don't know that, some people, they just walk by like, oh, look at this prostitute. Oh, she's just 15 years old and she's on the street. You don't know the story behind the people who you see. So just being conscious of yourself, because I know that even traveling, going to a different country, you may not know that, you can become a victim. You could be kidnapped and then shipped off somewhere to be sex trafficked. It's about being conscious of where you are, who you with, and just, being safe. So, the most important things to remember on why you should become active in anti-sex trafficking movements. Children account for 1.8 million of sex trafficking victims. Children rescued have nowhere to go. So once they rescue these kids, it's like, where do we put you? We don't have, like the government doesn't have money to send these kids. Some of them are trafficked from other countries. It will cost the government a lot of money to ship back all these people back to their countries and to find their families. So that's just a huge problem. And generally, they're sent to juvenile detentions. The TVPA, Trafficking Victims Protection Act, is working to help create safe houses. Donations will help this become possible. Like I said before, TVPA wants to create safe houses, and that's where the California Proposition 35 will help TVPA with this plan that they have. If offenders actually have to pay a fine, then that money that they pay can be given back to those safe houses, to those programs, counseling that these victims need. And so right now I want to show you guys a video of a movie called Taken, which truly shows and demonstrates what sex trafficking is and how it can happen to anyone. One of the girls, she just went on a abroad trip just with her friend, and she became a victim, you know? Just by talking to one guy, you know, is as simple as that. You just never know what's going on because these people are so good at what they're doing because they've been doing it for so long. And it's simple to just get caught up and to become a victim. So these are my sources, and thank you.